which I love for a Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Let me keep approving people. Brendan, me and you haven't talked about Michigan yet. Are you born and raised in Michigan?
I am.
Yeah. Are you a Michigan fan?
Absolutely not.
Oh, who are you a fan of?
I went to Michigan State.
Oh, did you?
I
See?
did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a
Are you?
Buckeye.
Oh, okay. So we can unite.
Yeah, we can unite.
All right, cool. Yeah,
I grew up in Ohio.
I've been to Columbus a couple times.
Yeah.
We went to see Michigan State, Ohio State
Okay.
4 years ago, where you guys beat us like 63-0. That was a great time. And then we went to the Buckeye Country Superfest at the Shoe,
At the
which was a
show.
great time.
Yeah, fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I
One of
love Columbus.
yeah, Columbus is fun. I grew up there. My family still lives there. One of our good friends growing up was the point guard at Michigan State too. So we followed.
Ooh,
Molly Munns.
okay. All right.
She is maybe now 46,
Okay.
47.
All
So
right.
it's been, I mean, I feel like it was yesterday, but it was a minute ago. But now I feel like she either coaches or does something there still. I
Yeah,
have to find her.
possibly.
Yeah, if you there's so many overlapping relationships, Ohio, Michigan.
Crazy. Nonstop. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got good friends who live in Upper Arlington right now.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, I love going down there. It's fun.
Yeah. Upper Arlington's beautiful. When I was home over Christmas, I was driving through Upper Arlington creating content on houses. Because when I grew up, those houses were like castles.
Yeah,
When I went to Ohio State, I was like, one day I'm gonna live in a house that looks like
in
that.
UA. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you've been to Upper Arlington, you just know.
hmm
It's a
hmm
thing.
Doesn't
But
feel real.
it does not feel real. And then it's like you're on campus a
hmm
block away. And
Yep.
it's a good place to dream on the way to school every day. It motivates me. Yeah, so we have some rock stars that are going to be leading us and pouring wisdom into us. So I first just want to thank them. You all can just come off your microphones because I'm going to be picking the heck out of your brains. And I want this to be an hour that you walk away from with so many golden nuggets that you can just go back and pour into your business. I think there's never a more time than now to get real with yourself and just to lean in and learn. They all are top producers. I put out a post and said, anybody that has sold over 30 buyers' homes in the last 12 months, I want you on a panel. And 30 homes, period, is a lot, right? Even if it's buyer and seller. But 30 buyers, y'all, 30 buyers is a lot. So know that all of these people are coming from a place of wisdom. They've done it, they're doing it. And there's no better person to learn from than somebody that's going through the trenches alongside of you. So I've prepped them with a list of questions, but I'd love to fly through some of these and then leave at least maybe 5 to 10 minutes just for like an open panel. But I first want to introduce each one of them. Amber Johnson is on here. She,
Hey.
say hello, Amber. She sold 46 homes in the last 12 months on a team, and she's just a killer rock star, has an amazing Instagram, focuses a lot on just buyers relocating to the area. And really, you've started to build a brand around that too, Amber, which is huge. You're becoming known for that. And anytime you build a brand and people just start to come to you because that's who your brand is, business gets a little bit easier. We have Brendan, who is in the top 1% of all of Metro Detroit. He is on one of the top teams at eXp, also has a background of being a sales director and a coach too. So he comes from a place of just contribution and wisdom. So we're grateful to have you here, Brendan. You're even better that you're not a
Yeah,
Michigan.
this
And
was big. This was a big win. I was debating leaving if you were telling me that this was going to go to some Michigan people. So, all
no, you're on the right side of
right,
the track.
cool.
And then Miss Brandy is right here in Raleigh at eXp. She's closed over 24 buyers and has several other pending and in her pipeline, which is also huge numbers. She also is a mentor and a speaker and has presented in rooms of over 300 agents before. So they all come with a great track record, and there's no better people to learn from than some of the best, and they're some of the best. So thank you all first and foremost for being on here today. Let's jump in. I sent them a list of questions, and I first want to dive in to one of what I feel like is the truth that everybody needs to hear. But you don't just become successful by accident. So I want you each to go over what's the one discipline, no matter what, that you refuse to skip every single day in your business, no matter how busy you get. Because what I see most agents do, like you don't just sell 30 plus buyers by accident. What I see most agents do is they get so busy, they stop doing the thing that made them busy in the first place. So, what's the one discipline that you each are integrating in your business every single day to stay consistent and disciplined?
Is
I'll
this
go
just open
first.
forum? Go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Amber.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we had a set order how we want
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah.
For me, I've built most of my business off of making calls to get me to where I'm at now. I'm starting to build that relocation brand that Amber mentioned. So things are starting to look a little bit different for me, but for a big bulk of my career, I did calls to get where I'm at. So that's one thing that I still do and probably won't stop doing unless it stops working or I have a ton of business coming from another source. But for me, time blocking is huge. So every single day I have a sheet that I print out for myself and it keeps me on track with what I have going on that specific day. And I time block by the hour. So each morning I'm doing a time block for my calls. Right afterwards, I have a time block for my social media posts. And those are two things that are on my schedule every single day.
Love it.
I'm similar to Amber. I'm all about time blocking. I write down every night before, what am I going to do the next day? It's going to be a max of 7 things, and everything's going to start from hardest to easiest. So you just have to eat that elephant right away. And if you don't get the list done, you don't go to bed till you get it done. So I'm a big advocate of making sure you stay focused on that. And then non-negotiable, I get up, I exercise, I read, and I'm in my chair at 8:30 in the morning. I turn my phone off. I am doing the things and then starting, I don't want people interrupting me, and then everything goes down a rabbit hole. So it's staying very consistent with your time block and really protecting that time. And then I'm big on not going down the rabbit hole with social media. So 20 minutes max, I'm trying to hit at least 10 people within my sphere. Celebrations, birthdays, I'm big on singing. I either video text or manually text, and everyone's getting, a happy birthday, a congratulations on a major life event, or if I see something tragic happened, I'm reaching out and trying to see how I can help them. And it goes a long way. I know all that's personal, but it ends up bleeding into your work life.
I am not a huge time block person, which I know goes against a lot of what people say. I am a task-based checkoff type person, and I live in Follow-Up Boss. So I don't know what CRM you guys use, but I have my Follow-Up Boss set up through past clients and all of that, and it does the same thing that Amber and Brandy do, it sounds like. But I have a close client follow-up plan that is the bi-monthly touch points, whether that's our client appreciation events or a CMA or whatever that looks like. I I built my business doing a lot of calls and things like that. And I think I'm at a point right now where a majority of my business gets to be referral based. It took time, but it's because of the effort that I pour into my database for that. And that's my non-negotiable is whatever my tasks are in FUB that day. That's what it is. So yeah, I have my morning routine and my schedule and all that kind of stuff, but I got a 5 and a 3-year-old, and I'll be honest with you, life happens. So I'm somebody that if I had a time block from 9 to 11 and then my family or kids got in the way, then I just wasn't going to do that. And I realized that my time blocks needed to shift and have some fluidity, and I needed to, the time itself wasn't the most important, the task was. And then one of the things that we do at Best Life is we talk about what's a win a lot. and knowing that you don't have to be perfect to have a really, really, really good career here. As a matter of fact, like you go back and like there's sports teams that stand out for being perfect because it's such an anomaly. But if you look at the playoffs this year, there's a team that was really close to 500. You don't have to win every day. And that I think was a big thing for me because I'm not a perfectionist, but I'm a perfectionist. And I think being able to take like, hey, today sucked. It was a loss. That doesn't mean your career's over. That just means today sucked. And so let's move on and hop back on the boat again tomorrow and take a loss and move on. It's when we compound those losses that it becomes a problem.
And what I heard, to sum up what everybody said, is you're just consistent in moving the needle. Whether you're time blocking or task oriented, you're consistent in moving the needle. Knowing that like some days that freaking needle doesn't move at all, right? You know, and I think that's where so many agents get defeated and fail and feel like they're failing, is because the needle doesn't move. They think that they're not equipped to do this job well. You have to get back up tomorrow and try to move that needle again. And compounding, doing that over time, your needle moves so far. But oftentimes I see agents move the needle just a little bit, or it doesn't move it at all, and then they just don't even try to at all, and they stop showing up. You have to, I love the one thing that Brandy says, I don't stop till it's done. That's huge. And Brendan's concept of like, it's task, like I'm checking off the boxes of task, regardless of what my time blocking says, he's checking off. That's reality, you guys. Success is not easy. It's consistency every single day that makes it look easy. And then one day you look up, and because you've made the calls and you've made the contacts, you build a sphere around you that will start calling you, where you no longer have to make 20 calls a day. But no, you have to go through that gritty, hard ass time of making calls and making contacts. And it will come. Your day will come. I used to say to myself as a new agent, I'm one day closer to not having to call 20 people every day. Because one day I'm going to build a brand and a presence so big people call me. But you can't skip that first part. You can't skip the not calling and the not making contacts. And all of you, even myself included, you can never forget what made you successful in the first place, because you will have dry spells of inconsistency where you have to go back to the basics. The basics never die. Okay. You're making the calls. What are you seeing right now that agents are not doing that are some of the biggest mistakes in today's marketplace? Because I'm sure you guys are getting some buyers that have spoken to other agents that just haven't converted them. So what do you feel like buyers agents are not doing that's leading to failure right now? What are the biggest mistakes they're making?
I'll kick this off because I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
I think we're all wimps.
Yeah.
I think we're not being as direct as we should with our buyers because we don't want to lose the business. When in actuality, when we are more upfront with them in a professional manner, but when we're more upfront with them, we go from showing 10 houses to 5, we go from writing 3 offers to 2, we go from losing out on 1 house to 0 houses, and that puts money back in our pocket as agents. And I think that agents are scared to have the tough convos with buyers. And the quicker that you're able to overcome that fear and do it tactfully, the better off we're going to be. And additionally, we also we talk about buyer consultations over and over and over again. We're a pretty heavy Zillow team, where we're getting a lot of those inbound leads. But if you don't form the relationship, it's never going to work. So if we can get them to a buyer consultation outside of the house, whether it's a coffee shop, whether it's on a secondary Zoom, whether that's at their house, whatever that looks like, to sit them down and explain to them, hey, process-wise, this is best. Here's what we're seeing: appraisal guarantees and price. Those are the 2 things that are moving the needle right now in our market, right? Outside of that, everything else is just kind of gravy. But how are we able to relay this information to buyers and sellers in a tactful and professional manner so that they know what to expect in the current market, and it can cut down on all of the other potential pitfalls that come with that.
And that creates a lot more confidence than working with you too.
Yeah.
Because that's the feedback the market gives you in the first place. And the more the market tells them this, you are like devaluing yourself
Yep.
because you should have known this and told them from the
Yep.
get. Brandy or Amber?
So for
Um,
me, I would piggyback on what Brendan is saying. My niche is relocation. I moved here not knowing one soul and not knowing anything about the area. So my thing is all about education. And I even had a buyer consultation yesterday, and she started spinning a little sideways because of the information I was telling her. And it's complete transparency and truth. But she said, I've talked to 4 other agents. Nobody has told me even half of the stuff you're telling me. I've been looking since October. What do you mean, due diligence, just the whole thing? And so time and time again, the biggest thing I hear is expectations aren't set. They don't know what our current market is. A lot of people are relocating from other areas, and even if it's within our own state, it's a different climate depending where you are. And so understanding that and, figuring out what is their buybacks, what are their needs versus their wants, educating them as far as, okay, you want this, but realistically, that's not within your price point. However, if you just go 1 or 2 towns over, it is. A lot of people are afraid to tell them that's not realistic for here, but here's what is. So it's really problem solving too, listening to what they want and then helping them understand how to get there. So we're helping them, get through the process. And in our state, due diligence is huge. No one wants to have the due diligence conversation. People don't want to have the NAR conversation. And a lot of agents can't even explain what NAR is and how it's affected things and why we have to do things the way we do now. But if you just come from a point of educating and not, fear, this is just day-to-day life, it's not a big deal, and you gain their trust, they're just going to sign and keep moving with you. They want someone that's going to lead them and not just say yes to them and then have them get frustrated as things aren't happening the way they expect. So it's really setting those expectations properly for them.
I love that. It is leading them. They want to be led. People want to feel comfort in knowing that you're looking out for them in their best interest in the grand big scheme of things, not just here.
Yeah.
Miss Amber.
Yeah, all of that. That you guys stole my answer. Setting expectations is huge. And leading the buyer. They do want to be told what to do. I mean, in a pleasant way, of course, but I think sometimes, especially newer agents, myself included, when I was new, you just don't have that confidence and you're afraid to tell the buyer what to do, but that is literally what they are hiring you for. Tell them what to do. But the other piece that I don't think either of you guys hit on is, and this actually just recently happened to me, and I have a buyer under contract off of this right now. He had met with another realtor, and she kind of made him feel like he was a number and not a person. So for me, when you're doing those buyer consultations, getting to know that person and really not just letting them talk, but listening to what are their fears, because a lot of them are the same across the boards, but there may be something specific to that person that is making them nervous about. I'm in North Carolina too, so that due diligence is a big one here, and just really explaining to them, hey, well, you're buying a house that's 1 year old. It's really unlikely that we're going to find something super major on an inspection, which would be likely why you would lose that deposit. So just calming those fears and being confident while you're doing it.
People
Absolutely.
feel your energy and your confidence.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback on what Amber said, a lot of, especially if buyers have already had negative experiences with inexperienced agents or agents that make them feel like a number, I'll get on a call with a lot of these potential buyers, and the first thing they do is just try to start spatting out, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600. And I'm like, whoa, wait, hold on a minute. This isn't how we're starting. Tell me about yourself. What's making you want to move right now? What's going on with your life? I like to go through the Ford method with every single client, and that immediately just starts to build that rapport and that trust and that comfort. And a lot of times they discover things about themselves during that discussion that maybe they didn't realize either about themselves or their spouse as they're talking out loud. So when you're going into the family, their occupation, that leads into the commute and time, their recreation, what is their lifestyle like? Why are they wanting to live here or there? And then, being bold enough to what is your dream? What ultimately is the reason why you're trying to do this? And as you go through that process, at the end of it, they just feel more comfortable and confident about why they're even doing this.
And seen and heard.
Yes.
And I think you're able to help people at a much higher level if you see them and hear them. And you're really helping them navigate them, like what I always say, like soulfully versus just statistically as a number. And if you're committed to being in this business for a long, long, long time, you got to connect with people, not just on a transactional basis, on an emotional, learn their life basis. Because the more that you can help them above and beyond just helping them buy and sell houses, I promise you they're going to stay committed to you forever. And you're going to be a generational agent for them and a generational referral agent for them too. And that's the ultimate goal. That's how you build a business that outlives you. And it's a business that becomes easier when you build those relationships. And to be quite honest with you, it's much easier to build them with buyers because you're so much more invested and you're spending more time with them. So even though I have agents come to me and they're like, I just want to work with sellers, they take less time. A buyer will have to sell a house in the future, and a buyer you can build such a deeper relationship with. The sellers, you don't have the opportunity as much to build those relationships that like you do with the buyers. So lean into buyers. Let me ask each one of you this. What does your buyer consultation look like? And what are some non-negotiables that you require before you even start showing anybody houses?
I can start. So for me, again, I'm relocation niche. So for me, non-negotiable is a Zoom and discovery call. So everybody gets a strategy and discovery call. Most people are on board with it. Sometimes people will get on and say, what is this, an interview, an interrogation? Like, what are we doing? And I'm like, no. We're just getting to know each other. And I feel like when you are on a Zoom, you're face to face. You can see people's body language. You can get their buy-in. Sometimes tone of voice over the phone, they'll get distracted. So you really have them one-on-one with you, which makes a big difference. And then my non-negotiables besides my Zoom would definitely be pre-approval or proof of funds. Because the last thing I want to do, I always tell them it's not, I'm sure they're always like, oh, I have an 800 FICO score, or this, that, and the other. It's not that I don't think they qualify. I want to make sure the house that they fall in love with, it's in their comfortable budget. There's your happy budget and there's the amount you qualify for. And I don't want them to fall in love with a home and then every home they're setting that standard based on that. And then also going through the full process and gaining their trust. When we go out, we're finding out what are those non-negotiables, what are those deal breakers. So when they say they want to see certain houses, I'm not just scheduling and jumping in the car. I'm looking at Google Map. I'm looking at the RPods and I'm saying, did you realize this, that, or the other? And they're like, oh no, that's a deal breaker. I don't want that. That's a waste of my time. Let's not do that. And I always reference it as, it's not wasting my time. I don't want to waste your time. And so when you're showing that you're coming from a place of value, they really appreciate that.
That's huge.
My process is very similar to you. I do a lot of relocation as well. So I always hop on a Zoom call with them first. Again, I know it's not the same necessarily as in person, but it is the next best thing, being able to see each other face to face. And I go through the entire process because most of those relocators are not necessarily familiar with, we talked about a second ago, due diligence. And so I go through the whole process with them. I also get to know, what they are looking for, their goals, their timeline, all of those things. And that non-negotiable for me is the same as well. I want to be sure I'm not wasting my time having them book a flight to come see a bunch of houses that they can't afford. And my time to be out with them all weekend long, because a lot of those relocators, they're here for a short weekend trip and they take up your entire weekend. They want to see everything that's on the market before they make a choice. And that's all fine and well and dandy as long as they're approved for it. So that is something that I do for my discovery as well.
Yeah, I guess mine's going to be a little bit different because I don't do as much relocation because I do mainly just Sphere and Zillow stuff. Zillow's a little bit, I would say, trickier in terms of getting them to that buyer consult, but I'm okay with giving you an out, right? Because that's how Zillow works, where they're just going to schedule your showing for you there. Um, and then moving as fast as I can to that buyer consultation outside of that home and outside of, so like dropping enough little nuggets throughout the house that, hey, here's the next step in the process type thing. Um, and then I think my non-negotiable is a tough word for me because I'd be lying to you if I didn't told you I didn't show a house or two without a pre-approval in hand. But understanding their finances in a way that makes sense, right, is really important. We can't be going to look at 500s when they're telling me they got A, B, and C going on, which I know is going to disqualify them from a 500 price point. And then additionally, I think it's important, right? Like we're using terminology and things that they don't hear on a day-to-day basis. An appraisal guarantee and due diligence and all these things, these aren't normal words and normal phrases and normal processes for them. So I like to introduce like our top, I don't go super in depth on process. I go like an overview. Hey, here's what this sort of looks like a 4-step. And then I say, hey, I'm going to make sure that you guys get guidance in each one of these steps. But I want to go over the top strategies right now that we're seeing so that when it comes time that we're in a multiple offer scenario and we got to put a strong appraisal guarantee together, I'm probably going to have to re-explain it to them, but they've at least heard it before. We've at least talked about why this is important. And then that goes back to the finances thing. Maybe we're going to drop from 10% to 5% down because we're going to shift that money over to an appraisal guarantee, or how are we going to strategize that aspect of it to put them in the best position?
One thing I heard all of you say is you're having some sort of understanding or conversation about their finances. This is something that's coming back. It's something I mentioned to my team earlier this year, is we have to be confident and knowledgeable enough to have I'm not saying we have to be experts, but a little bit of financial knowledge now more than we did a year or two ago. So what are some of those questions you're asking the buyers before you even maybe send them to get pre-approved? Because I know when I represented buyers at a higher level, based upon some questions they answered, I would direct them to certain lenders. Because if you don't have that lender piece that's a good match, that can be a deal killer from the get-go. So what are maybe some questions you guys are asking financial related during your buyer consultation?
I mean, I straight up asked, I start with, have they gotten pre-approved, right? Like, let's not beat around the bush.
Mhm.
Have they taken any steps in doing that? Do they currently do they own their current home? Because if they own their current home, there's a decent shot that unless something has changed dramatically for you guys in reloads, I would guess that there's additional things there. But based on areas and wants and things here in Michigan, we're also like Quicken Loans and Rocket and all of those are literally in our backyard. So we have a really competitive mortgage industry in these parts. Um, and most people are running things through UWM and such so that they have similar products and then some of the local banks. So having the resources when you may not have that seller who says, or that potential buyer who is strong credit wise. So how can we get them to a grant program? How can we get them to a something that just might fit their, like, do we have a doctor's loan in place? Do we have this and this and this, and having all those options available for them, so that they can cross off everything and then leaving the conversation open-ended to, okay, great. Hey, sounds like you can't buy right now based on what they're saying financially, but it also sounds like you're ready to go in 6 months if you do A, B, and C. And then you become the coach at that point in time, right? So I, I leave a lot of my legwork up to lenders, but having all of those lenders in my back pocket for certain scenarios, I think is probably the most important thing.
Absolutely, it is.
Mhm.
Having the
I
right
do
people
the
to
same
send them.
thing as Brendan, but one other layer that I add to it is I ask them about price of a home versus payment. Because some people are more price conscious, and if they're price conscious, and we've been dealing with these higher interest rates, I'm going to sway them from a resale to talking about new construction, because with the new construction, you have your 2-1 buy downs, your fixed rates, your incentives. So a lot of times, like last year, 8 of my buyers were first time home buyers, which is not my niche. And the caveat to that, they were all over 50 years old and they all thought they would never be able to be homeowners. And that shocked me. I've never met so many first-time buyers that were over the age of 50. They didn't know terminology, they didn't know all the things, and they had enough money. It wasn't like they had great jobs, they just weren't educated, didn't know, and they were just scared at looking at that interest rate. But as we talked, I was able to get each one of them, the majority of them are all new construction, and their payments ended up being less or the same as their rent. And these were renters 10, 20, 30 years. And I'm dealing with one right now, 33 years rent. She could have already had a house paid off, and she's an accountant and she has $50,000 in the bank. I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's all about educating and finding out where's their pain point and what solutions are there out there for them.
And that is,
Yeah.
you just have to meet them where they're at and help get them to where they go by creating the lender team and what's the end product that's going to be the best match. Because somebody that's a renter probably has fear of maintenance, taking care of things. New construction's peace of mind. And I think so often we just go to the MLS. You have to have knowledge of what exists in the new construction world. Because I would say probably 50% of the new construction homes in our area are not even in the MLS system. So you
This
have
is
to know
true.
what's available and what incentives are being offered. And then all of a sudden, just like Brandy said, somebody that thought they could never ever buy a house are able to move into a brand new home. And that's life changing.
I kind of do the same thing too, kind of just tailor it to the person that I'm meeting with or talking to. A lot of the first time home buyers, I think, would be better to ask them, hey, what monthly payment do you feel comfortable with, versus somebody that understands price point, has bought a home before, because they don't know, they're just guessing otherwise, but they know how much they can spend monthly. So that is a great way to kind of gauge what price range they should start with. If they haven't been pre-approved. And then one other thing I don't think either of you guys said, I always ask them who they do their primary banking with, because there are different programs with different banks. Specifically for a first-time buyer with the credit unions, a lot of times they have some in-house programs that these buyers may not otherwise qualify for elsewhere, and could be a good buyer right now if they bank there. So those are some questions that I always ask.
Yeah, that's huge. We here locally, if we're like, do you have access to state employees? Because
Yes.
state employees here is like 5% interest rates, hardly any closing costs. Great. It's huge. And honestly, it keeps somebody from being able to buy or not sometimes, and or keep a deal together. We've had a few that we've had to pivot to state employees just to keep the deals together. So it's huge to know and have those relationships with lenders, because they should really be your business partner as you navigate and grow your buyer side business specifically. One thing I just wanted to mention, and I think Brendan said this really just straight out of the gates, you cannot be afraid to ask the hard questions about the financials. The financials are everything. And go into the nitty gritty. One of the things I've done from the nth of time, I'm sitting here taking notes now, but even like during my buyer consultation, I will make them notes and let them truly know, like, what is it going to cost you out of pocket to buy a house? What's going to be the typical down payment ranges, your due diligence money? Because you would be surprised. There are some people who have not saved a dime, and until they have money for a down payment and for inspections and an appraisal, they got to regroup. Or there's people that you think may not be prepared that have $50,000, $60,000 saved, ready to buy a house. Well, your conversations are going to be a lot different based upon what does their financial makeup currently look like. So just know that you need to know those things. Do you have money in savings? How much debt do you, I mean, I would sit down, I have a finance background, so I wasn't afraid to ask these questions, but I would say, what is your income? How much debt do you have outstanding? And then I would be like, is their debt to income ratio even? If it's tight, if credit's an issue, I would send them to certain lenders. If they had $60,000, $800 credit score, I could maybe send them to a different lender. So I'm not saying you have to go that deep, but you have to get a little bit of a thermometer of where they are at financially to be able to direct them accordingly. My next question was, how are you setting expectations early so buyers stay committed and realistic throughout the process? Because if you're not truthful and if you don't paint the picture will be painted for them. So what are some pictures in today's market that you guys are painting to these buyer clients to make sure expectations are met and or exceeded in today's marketplace?
I started the last one, I think.
I'll
Amber,
start.
Randy.
So
Okay.
okay, go ahead, Em.
So, we just talked about, I go through all of that buyer consultation with them, kind of getting a better idea of what they want, and then kind of flip that around and I give them an expectation on what the process looks like. The process is, and I always tell everybody I work with, the process is not necessarily always a step 1 through 10. Every house is going to be different. So one house might be step 1 through 10. One house might be step 1 through 5. So just kind of explaining that it could be different based on what house they actually end up choosing. And then something that I do with my buyers that works out really well and kind of keeps us all in check, I give them homework to come up with a list of 10 things that they really want in their home. 1 being the top priority, 10 being, hey, I want this, but I could live without it. And then as we're looking at homes together, I tell them, hey, if we hit 7 of those 10 things, we need to talk about an offer. If it is less than 7 of those 10 things, we're forcing it and we should keep looking. And for me, that has really helped me to gain their trust too, so they don't feel like, hey, I'm just here to sell them a house. I do actually care about the house that they end up with. But also at the same time, it helps me keep them in check. If they start sending me houses that are outside of that list of 10, then I'll say, hey, buddy, you said you wanted a 2-car garage and this one doesn't have one. I don't think that we should look at this house unless something has changed in your life. So those are things that I do to kind of keep those expectations in check and keep the ball moving forward.
In the right direction.
Yes.
Love it.
And I'm similar to what Amber just said, but instead of giving them the homework, we do it right on the spot during the buyer consultation. So that again, when we are finding these homes and they're sending me these homes, I'm looking to see, okay, does this really match with where we're at? And if it doesn't, why are we shifting? I'm asking questions, open-ended questions to find out what's behind this move, to make sure it's not, I had one that it was just, okay, we lost this home. Now we're going to have to settle. No, we're not going to settle. This isn't the right home based on these things that you said. We just need to leave this home alone and keep waiting and looking. So it's not always just being a yes, let's go do it. It's finding out more what's behind it and make sure. So you're setting them up for success. And then when we're actually at the home, I do the same thing where I use that list and we turn it into a survey at the end. On a scale of 1 to 7, can't pick 4, how do you rate this? Okay, it's a 6. What would make it a 7? Because a 7, we're putting in an offer on the home. If it's a 1 to 3, we're walking away because it probably doesn't meet the 3 L's that are important to you, at least 2 of the 3, which is lot, layout, or location. So if we can't change one of those, not one, but if we don't at least have 2 of those things, it's probably not the right home for you. And when you start going through that process with them, they'll end up turning the tables on you. And when you're showing a home, they're like, oh, based on it, they'll just automatically start doing it and rating it. And it gives them like, okay, I understand, instead of being frustrated, why this just isn't a good fit.
Yeah. I think having the market knowledge of what's possible, I think is also in telling them about that, I think is important. So I mean, if I got somebody who's in a suburb looking for a 500K house when the average price point is 750, yeah, you got to be the bearer of bad news, right? And setting that expectation around, okay, here's what that looks like. And if you guys are okay with a 2.5 year home search for the one that comes up in 2.5 years, I'm fine with that too, but just know that it's 2.5 years, right? Because as much as we like to think we do, we don't create the market, right? So moving at the same time, when they don't find the house, whose fault is it? It's ours, right? So moving and shifting the expectation that, hey, it's a team effort to find the house, and I'll show you anything you want, but we're going to revisit the same conversation we already had. If something changes, which 99% of buyers always change what they're looking for, they'll tell you they want a 3-car garage and they buy the house with 2-car garage, right? Even though it was number 1 on Amber's list, right? They do it all the time, right? So understanding that, hey, 1, things change and I need to know about them. 2, I don't control the market. And if we're not seeing what you guys want, here's where we need to go. So being the solution finder for their search and having that conversation, I think is even more important than the first initial, hey, here's what you want, because most of the time it changes.
I love that. And one thing that I heard each of you say is you are really not telling them to buy the house, but guiding them to buy the house. And so often they do need to have some sort of push to make the offer because that's when the fear is triggered when it's time to put pen to paper. However, if you've laid out a process that clearly identifies the scale of if it's a 7 or above, we're making an offer. It's not you deciding, it's you guys have came together with a clear consensus that this is what they should do, which will give them a lot more confidence. But you have to have, if you haven't picked up on it, each one of these agents has a process, a sales process that they put somebody through. Whether you want to call it a sales process or not, they have the buyer consultation, they have a way they get people pre-approved, they have a way they only show a certain amount of homes. And when they're showing those homes, they have a way of navigating that client to get them to an offer. If you leave it up to the buyer to make an offer, I promise you, you're going to make a third of the offers that you should be making and selling a third of the houses you should be selling. Because whether we realize it or not, in human nature is we like to be told what to do, but in a way that's not ick. It's you've came up with an idea of what we're looking for. Well, guess what? We found it. Well, guess what? Now it's time to make an offer. And that's what each one of them has kind of said they've guided the people through the process. I love how Brendan said, and I wrote this down. You have to have so much market knowledge. You tell them what's possible and find a solution to fit them. Don't just meander and show them houses and let them get defeated and it take 2.5 years to find something. That's how you lose trust and credibility. You need to tell them this is reality. At 500,000, this is what it's going to look like. This is where it's located. Brandy said a minute ago, 500 is not this neighborhood, but it's 20 minutes down the road or two cities over. You have to tell them what their buy box, where it's located at. Don't sit there and really you're defeating yourself too. You're spinning your own wheels and you're failing yourself over and over and over again if you're not getting them to where the house actually exists that they can buy. So that's huge. You got to be solutions oriented and move them. Like, don't just let them stand still and let the market tell them the things. You tell them the things and you move them along their journey. By a raise of hands, how many people is seeing multiple offers again? I mean, they're back with a vengeance. It's real. If you haven't seen it or felt it yet, let me be the one that delivers the news to you. They're back. What are you guys doing to be competitive in today's marketplace in a multiple offer situation while also still protecting your clients? How are you helping them win while still protecting them?
So I think with multiple offers, it starts with the buyer consultation and education around what are your top strategies, right? So what in our market right now, it's price and appraisal guarantee. Is that the same thing in your guys' market, top two?
And due diligence matters here too.
Okay.
Diligence is huge
So
for us.
yeah, you guys have talked about, you guys are a state where you are non-refundable due diligence, right?
Correct.
So we don't have that. We have refundable due diligence. So my buyers are out there $600 cost for an inspection. But outside of that, that's not the case. So due diligence is probably number 3 or 4 on our list, along with some sort of post-close occupancy. But it is price and it is appraisal guarantee that are winning offers for us almost every single time. And for me personally, it's getting as much information as I can to allow my buyer to make the decision for them, right? I tell them straight up front, if you want me to spend your money, I will give you my Venmo account. You can put as much money in there as you'd like. I would appreciate it all. Thank you very much. I can't make the decision for you to put a $10,000 appraisal guarantee on. That's between you and your significant other or just you or whoever's involved in buying this, right? I can do everything I can to get you the information that says, hey, their top offer right now is 460 with a 20K guarantee. That's what we have to beat. That's our benchmark. It's your choice on whether or not you want to do it, but this is where we're at. And I think in allowing them to make that choice, again, we're removing, hey, you lost out because it was Brendan's fault. And it's the buyer to learn the market and figure out, wow, I got to come in stronger. I got to do A, B, and C. And then additionally walking them through the conversation of, okay, if you offer 480 and I call you tomorrow that they've accepted an offer for 481, what is your reaction going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Literally $1,000 by $1,000, because there is a number that no longer makes sense. And they have to do the mental exercise for it not to make sense to them. And that's the number that we should be putting on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't care if you win it for $1,000 or you win it for $5,000. You won the house.
Mm-hmm.
We got to figure the rest of that out later, but we need to win the house first.
I love that. And
That's
what's
huge.
huge.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Amber.
That's the gold that if you've never been in a market where you've had multiple offers, that you have got to hold onto. Because fear begins to paralyze them and keep them from doing the bold moves. The worst thing ever is to know that it only took $1,000 more. And you have to push them past their normal level of safety. Because in the grand big scheme of things, it seems like a lot in the moment when it's emotional and heated and you got to make that multiple offer. But it's the winning the house that matters. Because I promise you, each one of us would do $5,000, $10,000 more if somebody put us through that exercise that Brendan just said. Of what would it feel like tomorrow if somebody got the house at 481 and all it took was 481, but you weren't willing to just push a little more? Because to me, when I've ever been in a multiple offer situation representing the buyer, it's that last push that wins the house.
Yep, usually is. The one other thing too is focusing not so much on the dollar amount, but how it affects their payment instead.
Yeah.
Would you guys be okay with putting an extra $50 a month down? And if they say yes to $50 a month, I know I got at least like $4,000 to play with based on today's rates.
Mm-hmm.
If they say they're cool with another $100 a month, I know I got at least another $8,000-9,000 to play with. Right. So understanding, again, going back to the financial situation of how those two things tie together, most people are much easier to say yes to not going to Starbucks once a week than they are of saying, hey, here's $5,000. But they don't think about it like that. And so it's our job to tell them how to think about it.
Mm-hmm. In the smaller increments that their mind can wrap around.
Yep.
I do something similar in those multiple offer situations too, as what you're doing. Due diligence is a big factor here. So if, we walk through the house and we feel confident that there's not going to be structural issues. For me, I tell my clients there's three big pillars that we want to look at when we're doing home inspections. So structural issues, major plumbing, water issues, and pest issues. Everything else,
baby.
everything else, not that it's not important, it's just not as significant.
I think Jen might have, or Jen or Lauren or somebody just talking to their
I'm
cat.
so proud of you, Holly.
So,
Or their grandchild.
People. Okay. I just muted her. Sorry.
So in those situations where, hey, we've walked through the house, just paint the picture, say it's a 2-year-old house, it's less likely that we're going to have structural issues. Those big three things that I want to pay attention to. Hey, maybe we feel more comfortable putting a larger due diligence deposit back because we're pretty confident something real crazy would have to happen for us to cancel this deal. So for us, that's probably a number 2 priority here in North Carolina when we're in a multiple offer situation is price and then due diligence. Another thing too is just having the right lender. So one of the lenders that I work with regularly, she does an upfront underwrite. So that makes them almost as good as, or just as good as a cash buyer. We know that we're not going to have any financial hiccups unless they go out and buy a brand new car or something on the day before closing. But those things really set you apart when you're making an offer in a multiple offer situation.
Those are huge.
And I'll piggyback on both of you. Same process here. I also try to, if the listing agent will pick up that phone, just find out what's most important, because sometimes it surprisingly is not due diligence, even though that is usually top. Sometimes it's just flexibility. Even though there's multiple offers, I've won multiple offers, not offering $1 over and doing minimal due diligence and winning against 9 people because of that conversation, that flexibility, and willing to work with the seller. And knowing that, you understand the way the home is and you're not going to nitpick it when the inspection comes in, that you love the house, and they want someone that they're going to work with that's more flexible and easygoing. And over time, you get a reputation of what kind of agent are you? Are you gonna, be a lot of drama to work with, or is it gonna be pretty smooth? And are you really only gonna focus on maybe those hazardous and non-functioning items versus giving a list of 50 things? And then also partnering with a good lender, especially in those multiple offer situations, and having them reach out, whether it's phone or email, to make that connection and just solidify again how strong your client is and that it's going to be a smooth process for the seller.
That's huge. Anytime as a listing agent, I get a phone call from a lender, it is peace of mind that they're in the nitty gritty and the know, and that they're going to be side by side with this buyer and see through it to the end. And not that is always ethical, but your reputation does matter on the receiving end of offers, because knowing that you're going to work through things that come up in the due diligence period as an agent versus being an emotional agent that heightens it definitely play a part into if your offer gets accepted or not. And those are things that not everybody's always going to tell you, but it's reality that if the listing agent has a pain in the butt agent and two rock star agents that they've done multiple deals with, those offers have some value added to them, that it's subliminal, but it's in reality, it's true life. One last question, then I'm going to open it up for questions. If you had a pipeline of 0 right now and you had to rebuild it in the next 90 days, what would you be doing right now to take action, and what would you be focusing on first?
For me, with no budget, I would say because it makes a difference if you have budget.
Give me
But
a
I
no
built
budget
mine
answer and a budget answer.
Yes. So mine will be no budget answer because I've done mine 100% organically. So for me, it's social media would be number one. And it's not just any social media. It's social media that adds value. You don't have to have a big following to get your phone ringing and start doing business. So when you come from a place of service, not selling, and you're answering the questions that people are asking, it's going to open up the door. And you also have to have a call to action. You don't want to just get on and just talk. It's like, okay, well, that was nice listening to her talk. You want to have a purpose behind it at the end for them to follow through. Oh, it's okay to reach out to her. It's okay to ask some more questions. Oh, she's giving me this free guide. I want to find out more about this. Let me click and register. And now I'm in her CRM. So now I have someone to follow up with. So that would be number one. And you don't need a lot of views. Like if you have 150 views, some people cry and they're like, oh, that was 100. Well, if I was in a room of 150 people, I only need one conversation, one home to sell to get me started. So 150, you can't talk to 150 people at once. All you need is that one. But over time and consistency, it just keeps piling up. It's like a commercial that just keeps playing. And one day they need that commercial and they're going to call for that product. Second is not to forget your own sphere. If you don't have a sphere, I didn't have a sphere when I moved here. So I was getting involved with things that were important to me. I was a huge hiker, workout, and then sports and dance for my daughter. So it was just getting involved in the community and talking to everybody. You'd be amazed how many conversations you can have every single day. Last year alone, 6 of my conversations, not knowing these people, going into a restaurant, getting my nails done, getting my hair done, ended up eventually closing in a transaction. And I didn't know these people. So social media is huge, reaching out to your sphere. And then something that I actually recently started doing, and I've got a lot of traction on it, and I wish I did it sooner, but I'm an introvert, extrovert, would be monthly going to masterminds, not within your local community, but outside of your community, whether it's hours away or states over, and actually networking with other colleagues, whether they're in your same brokerage or a different brokerage, and building those relationships and helping grow each other's business. Last year, I was able to give $5 million worth of just referral business to other agents, not including what I was able to get. And I have 5 on my board right now that are referrals just from this month from people in different states, just from networking and having conversations with them.
Good for you. That's awesome. Those are good needle moving activities. Brendan,
Same for me. I have social media is number one for me. I would have started that on day one if I knew how large of a net it actually casts. That's something that I have been more focused on. And it's not just posting to post, you have to have a strategy behind it. You have to be speaking to a specific person. I actually have a coach for my social media. And one thing that she has taught me is if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. So you really need to pick who your client is and focus and lean into that. And sometimes for myself, when I'm posting, I'm like, man, I just said this yesterday, but it doesn't matter. Be repetitive, because whoever saw your video yesterday or your post yesterday might not see it today, and so on and so forth. So the repetition is good. That means you're doing it right. And I do the same thing as you, Brandy. I'm involved with some local groups, and I've gotten business that way as well, from social media because of being in that group. So they all kind of tie into each other as time goes by. But the more things you can be involved with, the more people you can be in front of, the more people that know that you are a realtor, the more business that will come to you. And then the other thing that I would do if I had zero and I was starting at baseline, I would video text every single person in my cell phone and say, hey, I'm a realtor. Do you need help this year, or do you know somebody that does? And just really short and sweet. But I mean, how many people are in our phones that we haven't talked to for who knows how long? You might not even remember who that person is, but who cares? Send it to them anyway.
Somebody had us do an activity last year that made us look at like how many contacts you really have in your phone. And it will make you have an aha that like you have people at your fingertips every single day that you can be touching and communicating with. And I promise you, they're having conversations about who's looking to buy or sell or move every single day. And the more you stay top of mind, it's a game changer. Go ahead, Brendan.
I know, I think I'm just going to stay quiet because Amber just stole mine. No, I literally just looked it up. I have 1,334 contacts in my phone, and I would call every single one of them. The only difference is my ugly mug, I don't put on video very frequently. I'm going to call you and talk to you. I want a two-way conversation if possible, not a one-way conversation. So I am huge in terms of calling on the phone as opposed to sending that video text out. I know that's a personal preference thing. And then I would do the same thing for every single person that I follow on social media. Keep it short, keep it quick. Let's not beat around the bush. Embrace the fact that you're a salesperson. There's a difference between being a salesperson and being salesy, right? And embrace that fact that you are a salesperson. This is how you make a living and do business. And the third piece to that would be leveraging your network in a slightly different way than you guys have talked about with community groups. But how many lenders out there are looking for a new agent to partner with? Every single lender does. See if they'll toss you a deal. See if they got anybody. Hey, next one that comes in, dude, would love to partner with you. Give me a shot. I'm trying to test out a few loan officers here. I would assume that you're testing out a few agents and seeing if we can build something. What do you got? And that's from insurance. That's from inspectors. That's from lenders. That's from any title companies, any industry professional who is around here. Their sphere talks too. So if I can tap into other spheres through networking of semi-associated businesses, I think that's really helpful. And then I wear everything logo based. So I am in a Best Life hoodie almost every day. I've got my Best Life hat here. This goes without budget, but I send out Best Life Yetis to all my clients every year. So I want you to continue to see a brand and continue to see me in front of you. And I'll talk at the grocery store to my checkout person just because there's a house on my shirt, right? Like I'm going to take every advantage I can of doing that and finding those relationships too without a dollar.
When I was a new agent, I would wear my name tag everywhere. I was
Mhm.
like, people talk to me about real estate. Talk to me. And
Yeah.
you don't realize something so small works.
Mhm.
It's you just have to show up and know that you're providing value, and people are looking for somebody just like you to help them buy or sell a house. No matter
I
where
had a guy, real quick, Amber. I had a guy who I worked with down in Texas when I worked down there. And he literally used to go and sit in a coffee shop with a name tent that had his name on it And all it said was ask me about real estate.
Mhm.
And he would sit there every day. That's where he worked.
Yeah, it's consistency. And then
Yep.
people see that. People see
Yep.
that he's consistently showing up and they want to work with somebody that shows up consistently.
Yep.
So I know we just have a few minutes left. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask the three of them? No questions.
I have a question. I have
Yeah.
a question. So I think it was Brandy that said she was an introverted extrovert, and I struggle with the same issue. So what do you feel like helped you to kind of get out of that and have those conversations that you need to have?
So for me, it's a daily struggle. Like the struggle is real. But for me, my aha moment, especially you starting my YouTube channel, is the best thing I've ever done for my career, and being able to grow it organically. And every time, every single week, like clockwork, it's consistency. I'm there sitting, recording, and by the time I'm done, I am drenched in sweat. And it's just me. And I'm like, what the heck is wrong with me? But it's just being willing to be uncomfortable, but knowing that you still need to do it because of the bigger goal. There's someone out there that needs you. So for me, that was my big aha moment. It took me like a year and I'm like, what the heck am I doing? I'm my own worst enemy here. There's someone out there that needs me and they're going to buy the house with or without me. So why not me? So when I made that click in my mind, that mind shift, I sat down and I love my dogs. I'm a big dog person. So I have my dogs right there past my camera and I look at them and I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to you guys and give this information that I know someone needs. And time again, every single week, I have somebody calling me saying, I am so glad you made that video. I would not have met you and found you if I didn't, see this information. So they're actually thanking me for doing what they don't realize I'm struggling with. And I'll share that, as we become friends, and they're like shocked. They're like, we would never know. And we're glad you're able to get past that. Same thing when I go into a room, it's so stressful to see a sea of people. So what I've done every time I go out is I just focus on one person at a time. I look for one friendly face, some maybe connection that I can make some conversation starter to get started. And I will just work with one person at a time, one conversation at a time. And by the time I'm done, I've met a nice little network of people. We've exchanged numbers and information, and then we can start a relationship offhand. But it's just setting your mind up positively that you're going to do this no matter what, and then celebrate, when you leave, what was that win? What was that connection?
Was your name Aziza?
Yes, Aziza.
Aziza, can I ask you a question to follow up that?
Sure.
What is the fear of doing this? What's going to happen if you make this phone call?
Right.
No,
I don't know.
Answer it for me. What's going to happen?
Um,
What's the worst possible thing that someone's going to do when you make this phone call to them?
Probably hang up or say some choice
No,
words.
they would never do that. They wouldn't hang up on you. They would, and then what? What happens if they hang up on you?
The call ends. I guess I'll move on to the next person.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Aziza, the thing you do, and I've done this 5 times this last year, is you pick up the phone and say, I'm sorry, I think we got disconnected.
Yes.
And then they do not know what to say. They're like, ah.
Yes. And in focus, so I say this half jokingly, right? But like no one's gonna die for making a phone call. And the more that you can move the fear away from what you think is going to happen, you've made up. And I'm the same way, right? Like I got over my fear I taught high school for 9 years. And if you can stand in front of high schoolers, you can stand in front of anybody. I'm convinced. Because those kids are ruthless. But if you look at it from a legitimate scenario, if you call somebody and they hang up on you, great. You called. That's the win. So call the next person. Because the chances of you converting these people on the phone are like 1 in 100. The chances of you seeing that person in public and them remembering you are like 1 in a million. And the chances of that person seeing you, remembering you, hating a 60-second conversation that they had with you, going to leave you a bad Google review and absolutely just demolish your career, That doesn't exist. It's not real life. Make
Got
the call.
it.
You got it. You can do it. I promise.
Thank you guys.
I would go,
Remember,
show
no,
of
no
hands
just
probably.
means not right now. It's not forever. So
Yeah.
you could end up calling the following month and maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe there was some bad moment that life was happening and they're like, this is the last thing I have time for. But the next time you circle back, they're open to the conversation. So just remember, it's not you. They're not rejecting you. They're just rejecting the situation at the time. So it's no, not yet, but next time.
And the more times you do it, the easier it gets too. So
I would say 99.9% of agents are probably introverted extroverts. There's very few that are good agents that are not. So know that it's the quicker you call out your fear, just like Brendan did, and move past it by doing something that is uncomfortable as all get out, you grow your own confidence. And I will tell you, real estate is a confidence game. People work with you if you're confident and you make them feel confident. So the quicker you grow your confidence, the quicker you grow your business. And your business is a direct reflection of your own internal growth. So grow yourself, and you only grow yourself by doing the hard thing. That's where the growth happens, and doing it consistently and doing it well.
Aziza,
And then you
one more
realize you
thing.
don't die when you do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. One more thing too is remove what you're not remove it, but move what success is, right? If you're looking at, hey, I didn't get that client, right? Then you failed. As opposed to if you are measuring, hey, like Brandy's saying, I'm just filming this video. I don't care. I'm filming the video. Amber said the same thing. I'm filming the video and I'm putting it out there. The same thing for you with a phone call or a conversation. I'm just having the conversation. That's the win, not the result of the conversation. The result will take care of itself. It's going to be a yes, it's going to be a no. And quite frankly, you probably don't have a whole lot of influence on that. So have the conversation. That's the win for you. And maybe you need to have 50 of them, but quantifying the action as the win as opposed to the result as the win also helps move through that fear.
The action is when the win happens.
Yeah.
Got it. Thanks, guys.
Good job, y'all.
I have a question for Amber. Amber, you were speaking about something that I really like that you said, because something I run into often, especially with people who are new to buying in North Carolina, is the due diligence factor, and it feels very scary to them once they realize that it is non-refundable, which I do feel like in general I do a good job in helping them, understand that it is going towards the purchase price and things, of that nature. But I love the fact that you said, the three pillars is, but I didn't get what the last pillar was.
yeah, so when I'm explaining to them the due diligence and trying to alleviate some of the fear, I walk them through the common reason that you wouldn't get your due diligence money back is going to be those inspections and how they come back. And the three pillars for me for when I'm explaining to my clients are going to be structural issues, major plumbing or water issues, and pest like termite issues. Those things can be very pricey repairs. And so, especially if we're looking at a brand new house, that's something that I can leverage and say, hey, client, this house is 2 years old versus 60 years old. We can probably give a larger due diligence deposit here because we're not going to just walk away from a cracked faceplate. There's probably not a substantial structural issue going on here. We obviously look at the house too together to make sure that I'm not putting my foot in my mouth, but that's kind of what I set their fears aside with those three pillars on the inspections. It helps a lot with the first time buyers, especially.
Thank you. And that is like my target is I love helping first time home buyers. So I am, having to really like hold their hand and really help them because they usually don't have a lot of money. And so they're like, well, if I put this to this house, and then it doesn't work out, well, then what do I do? I'm stuck, And so it's a really big fear for them. And I think, and I do explain, the main things that we're looking for, but I really, just love that piece stating it like that. It makes a lot of sense. And then also you said, sorry, I have my 9-month-old baby with me. So she's talking too. You said your lender does something up front that goes, it's like beyond a pre-approval. You said, what was that?
Yeah, she puts all of my clients through underwriting up front. So they're doing
Wow.
a deep dive check. It's not just a, hey, you told us this is what you make. Here's your approval letter. You're good to go. They're making sure that those pay stubs match what they put on their application. Their credit score is what they said it was. They don't have any extra cars they didn't claim and tell us about. All of that stuff is being checked up front. Sometimes it's not completely done by the time we find the house, depending on how fast the right house presents itself to us. But most of the time it is done completely before we make an offer. So I can say, hey, listing agent, we've already been through underwriting. There should not be any last minute surprises coming from our side of things.
Yeah, that's a total game changer, and especially like with rates, coming down and the market heating up going into spring and summer. I feel like that is a really good piece to have and something I definitely need to find. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I tend to overthink my buyer consults a lot. I'm extremely outgoing, but I don't want to like miss something within the buyer consult. So when you guys are doing those, like what are you finding like the key, most important pieces are that you're giving them of value when you're going over that?
What is your purpose? What is your goal in the buyer consult, India?
I want to lead them and set the expectation
Okay. In what?
in the home buying process.
And at the end of a buyer consult, what do you want to have happen?
I want to get the buyer agency agreement signed.
Okay. That's where I think you stop. I
Okay.
think that will naturally take care of itself if you do a good job on the BC. The ask becomes really easy,
Okay.
right? If you're focused on it the whole time, that becomes your only goal. But you just said you're an extrovert and you like having good conversations with people. So make it about the conversation and make it about the people, and
Okay.
everything else will fall into place. They're going to do business with you because they like you.
Mm-hmm.
You're
People
if
like
you're
people.
if
Amber
you're
says
on
it
this
all the time.
if you're on this listening, right? Like you're clearly an agent who cares, who goes through training, who does stuff like this and all of that, right? So it's not your market knowledge. As a matter
Mhm.
of fact, I don't know any agents who know everything about the market. I don't know any of them, right? And I will explain, and I think I'll do a perfect BC. And some of those BCs are the ones that they ask the most questions on throughout the buying process. And I'm like, we covered this 25 times already, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But if you focus on building a relationship with them, the agency agreement takes care of itself,
Mhm.
right? The process is cool, but I think you're setting yourself up for a lot of pressure in the BC when in actuality it's a conversation that you love doing.
Right. Okay.
One of the things that helped me with this too was moving my buyer consults into a more conversational setting. If I can get somebody to a coffee shop or a bar or a small little two-person table, it's so much more conversational. At the house, it's formal. It's got to be about the house. It's got to be like all of these different things and emotions are there. I'm trying to make this a good conversation between a couple friends where, yes, I'm the professional, but you feel comfortable. You feel comfortable having your coffee and chatting with me about stuff. Brandy or Amber?
Yep. For me, it's the same thing. I go back to Ford. And you're not doing it methodically. It's just naturally, like Brendan said, you're hitting on all the things. So you're not going to be missing anything. But as you're doing it, you're growing their trust and you're building your relationship without even trying, tell me more about your family. Why are you wanting this? What are you looking for? Tell me about your lifestyle. What's important? Tell me about your occupation. Are you home? Do you have to commute? What do you do when you're not working? What do you do for fun? Is this long-term, short-term? And again, it's not clinical questions. There is a flow to it. I actually have my buyer questionnaire that I have in my head now. But I'd be more than willing to share it with y'all if you would like it. But it sets up that flow to go into that Ford method. And by the time you're done with it, it's okay, what's next? A lot of times I don't even have to say, these are the next steps. the buyer is saying, okay, great. It went from I'm interviewing a couple of agents to what do we have to do next to work with you? And then that's when you go into the agency and send it over for signature.
Perfect.
Yeah, same here. Just you don't want it to all be salesy, right? You want to get to know the person, and that really makes them feel like they can trust you, which they should have that feeling when hiring a realtor. So I do very similar to Brandy. The Ford method is really popular, so check that out if that's not something you're familiar with, and that'll help you kind of structure how your meeting should be set up.
And this to me is with buyers or sellers. It's people in general, people by people. And you want them to be so bought into you and the value that you provide that no matter if you're selling gym equipment, makeup, that they want to work with you because they trust and love who you are as a person. But that means you have to show them a little bit of you and get vulnerable and create rapport and figure out like what are the common interests, what are the common relationships, you know, how do you gel with them? And that's how you sell yourself, is going deep and getting vulnerable and creating, like taking off that, like, I'm a realtor and I'm just going to show you houses and put you through the process of getting the buyer agency signed. That makes people feel rigid and it makes them feel like you're selling them something. They want to be guided with trust and eloquence and somebody that they look at is like a trusted friend. Like one thing I sometimes say in almost all my listing and buyer consultations is I want to have the relationship that we're able to talk like family members would. And I want to know everything that's going on in your life so I can help you move through it. So do I have your permission to guide you like I would guide my own sister or my own mother? Like I relate it because sometimes people need a picture to visualize. Now, if they have a bad relationship with their family, that's not what you want to say. But do you see where I'm going with this? You have to get on a personal level because whether you realize it or not, we're in a people business and people's emotions are heightened and fear is heightened because you're dealing with usually the largest sum of money they ever play with and their life. There's something about a house and buying a house that's emotional for people. So you need to have permission to go there and be able to speak to them on that level if you really want to guide them through all those things. And that means they have to trust you and like you and know you as a person, know what your values are and what you stand for, and how you're really going to equip them to get them to where they want to go.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Good questions. Any other questions before we wrap up? I know I kept you guys 17 minutes longer, but I couldn't dare stop. That's good stuff.
I have one question if we have one more minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
All three of y'all have talked in somewhat depth about social media. Brandy, you especially, obviously, you mentioned your YouTube channel. I don't know for Amber and Brendan, you know, what are your main sources within social media? Like, do you have a go-to platform? Do you have different tactics, or is there some sort of management system you like to use? It's all super overwhelming, I feel like.
I choose Instagram. Everybody is gonna have a platform that they have preference for, I think. I do have YouTube as well, but Instagram is my top priority every single day. And I think I mentioned I do have a coach, so I think investing in yourself and having a coach so that you can pay for their knowledge and not have to recreate the wheel is huge if you have the budget to do it. So there's definitely a strategy. And just for me, I do post every single day, at least once. So my personal strategy is I batch that content once a week because life gets busy and our calendars get full and you don't want to just post, right? You want it to be meaningful and create business for yourself. So I block off time one day over the weekend and I batch the entire next week. That way the content has quality and it's not just there to be there.
And I batch in one month. So for me, YouTube works because I can do long form and then I can take Opus clips, make them into short, and then I can drop them everywhere. So again, because I'm introvert, extrovert, I don't like being in front of the camera all the time. And even though I don't have a bigger presence on those other platforms, I still get reach outs. which makes it nice. And like my husband said this morning, he was just like, yeah, I was just talking to Karen this morning, and she's like, what in the heck? I see your wife every time I open up any of my social media platforms. And I'm like, that's hilarious, because I'm only posting one time, scheduling it all, and it's just dripping, but it just gets seen by your sphere.
I probably shouldn't speak on this. No.
We're
In
gonna have a
reality,
social media masterclass, Brendan, and you're gonna come be a learner.
yeah. Let me know when that is. Because I came from a teaching background, so I had everything like locked down social wise for a while. And so like getting into this was really weird for me. Since I've had my kids, I found it way easier to post my children than it is to post me. I know some people feel weird about that. I don't. But I have, like Brandy and Amber said, the common theme is that when I do, every night I look at my phone while I'm laying in bed, and I will try and post one or two things from the day to my stories. Whether that's real estate or family is a different story. I don't have a great strategy behind it. My whole thing and where I'm at in my learning process of social media and journey is just a post. So I want to stay relevant. I want to stay in front of people. And I'm much more of the, if I'm going to use social media as a lead gen, I'm much more of the reach out and send DMs than I am, let me post a video.
I think you have to do both.
Mhm.
And
I
mean,
think you're breaking
guidance.
up. I can't hear you well. I'm not sure.
Definitely doing both.
I don't, yeah.
You really do have to do both. And for me, when I first started posting videos, like I don't hear it until I hear myself back on a video, but I have a very Southern accent. So one thing that thank you. One thing that I do for myself, because I can't stand hearing myself back, is if I'm doing a talking head video, which I don't do a ton of those anymore, thank goodness. For me, that's probably why I don't lean into YouTube harder, because it is more talking head style, but don't play the video back for yourself. Do one pass and then post it. I know that sounds so scary, but I spent so much time like rethinking and rewatching and like, oh man, I got to keep doing this over and over again, because how I said that word, it sounds crazy. And you just get analysis paralysis and you end up not doing it. So don't even look at it. When I do my video shoots for listings, I literally do this same approach. I do not rewatch it. I say to my photographer, is it good enough for you? All right, cool. Let's keep it and we'll put it out there. So
Definitely. Well, thank you all. All three of you have been just such a bright light with so many gold nuggets. And I literally have all of these notes. This was amazing. I pray blessings over each one of your businesses this year, because you guys have been great contributors to the community today. And I'm grateful for each of you. Thank you for reaching out and showing up, providing value. Thank you all for showing up today and staying an hour and 22 minutes. That speaks volume that we were able to keep all of you here this long. And I would love to do maybe a social media coming up, because social media is not going anywhere. YouTube is only growing. And it's something that's becoming part of our business at such a high level. Yeah, Brendan just put his IG in social media. Definitely connect with everybody. Follow them. If you have referrals in those areas, send them to the three of them. They're all rock stars and will take good care of your people. So yeah, thank each of you. I'll tag each of you too, and I'll send each of you the recording that you guys could push out to your people as well. But thank you. Thank everybody for today.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
Amber, thanks for doing this. Appreciate
Yeah,
it. And I
absolutely.
just said in the chat, I'm happy to chat with anybody. You guys got a one-off convo, anything like that. I'll give out my phone number. I don't care. I love doing this stuff. So happy to help anywhere I can. Thanks, Amber.
Awesome. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Brandy.
see ya. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.